Alright, listen. As a fellow writer, I also would go into a burning building or burning fire to get my work, to get my book, my baby. But I also wouldn't be stupid enough to have only one copy. Come on, Wednesday, you're better than that. That's like a Monday move. Welcome back to the TV Corner, everybody. Today we are talking about Wednesday Season 2. Wednesday Season 2 follows the titular character as she attends her second year at Nevermore Academy and tries to uncover the person behind a series of outcast murders, all without her usual psychic abilities. It brings back almost the whole cast of the first, while adding the talents of Evie Templeton, Billie Piper, Joanna Lumley, Owen Painter, Steve Buscemi, and Lady Gaga for like 30 seconds. Alright, so continuing on with our Halloween in the Middle stuff, and also coming back to the TV Corner because I realized I haven't done a single one this entire year. It's been all movies. I think it's been all movies. I haven't even done the music or anything. I'm going to rectify that pretty soon because I got a lot of TV shows I've been catching up on. Alright, that's a lie. I've had some TV shows that I've caught up on. Alright, maybe it's like 2, and I'm like halfway through 1. But still, I'm going to talk about them. I figured that this was a great blend because Wednesday Season 2 finally came out, and I finally saw the ending of it. And, I mean, it was like 3 years since we had the last one, and it is absolutely one of my favorite shows of this decade, honestly. As is usual now, it takes like 3 years for the next season to come out, so much so that the actors get like insanely tall and old, so it's kind of funny. But it seemed like it was going to still keep the same charm and the same, macabre feeling that's basically in every Tim Burton show and movie, so I was very excited for this. So starting off with the highs, I, once again, loved the cinematography, the production design, the color, everything technical about this show. There's also a couple really cool sequences, one in particular that is stop motion, so it was really cool to see Burton go back to that and, kind of utilize different media in the same show. That was awesome. And again, the production design specifically is so well done. I mean, it was really done well last time in the last season, but in this one, they really step it up because there's a bunch of different types of episodes that they have where they have whole new locations, like they have a camping episode, which was a really great call back to Addams Family Values. I think they did a great job kind of doing an homage to that, making kind of its own thing, and it was a very, very fun episode. That was definitely one of my favorites of the 8. But they also have this big gala that they were talking about, kind of like they had the Raven in the first season. They have this gala, and my god, they just went all out with the costumes and the set design and the colors, everything on it was, they just have such creative ideas when it comes to the look of this world. And like I said, they had some really fun ideas for episodes, like the camping one, but I think everybody's favorite is absolutely going to be the body switching episode, the Freaky Friday or Freaky Wednesday episode. Sorry. And I just have to say, I've seen a lot of these types of things, where the actors have to act like each other, or at least act like the characters acting like each other kind of thing. And I almost have never seen one as good as this. Jenna Ortega and Emma Myers have captured each other perfectly. Their mannerisms, the way that they say stuff, it was really, really good. I was very impressed by both of them, and that was a very fun episode. But most of the highs of this season are really in a lot of the characters, especially some new ones that we've got. Agnes has got to be one of my favorite new characters of any show or movie that we've had recently. I adore her, and I want to adopt her as my little sister. We obviously have a lot in common because, we're both really weird. But no, I love her so much, and she is probably the definition of I love whatever's wrong with you. The way that the music goes to like this creepy clock ticking whenever she's on screen, her wide eyes, the way she talks, it's like kind of like mousy but very creepy like. But the thing is, what I like about her character most is that not only do we get more depth of why she is the way that she is, but they also don't let her shy away from that. There's a lot of like her being weird and creepy and you don't know what's going on, and then they give her more emotion and give her more backstory. But then it's not like she just completely becomes a different character. She stays who she is, and I really appreciated that. And her power, being invisible, is not only very useful so many times in the show, and honestly, I thought it would get tired after a certain point. Like, okay, they keep using this thing as a crutch, like she's invisible so she can do all this stuff. But every time she appeared or disappeared, it was a shock to me every single time. I was like, whoa, yeah, I kind of forgot you probably could be right there. I thought that Wednesday was, once again, pretty good. I mean, she doesn't really change, per se. She has some growth in this one, specifically with the relationship with her mother, Morticia. So I thought that was a really cool thing to do in this season, that they were able to get the parents in the season more. That was one of the things from last season that I actually was like, I hope they are in this one more, and I hope they improve on that, and they did. So that was pretty cool. Thanks, Netflix. You were listening. I didn't know you watched my channel. I loved Thing in this one, but I mean, they even try to go more in depth with his character, which was really cool, and give him some dimensions. And out through the finale, there's stuff about Thing that I would never have guessed, and I thought was a very cool twist. And finally, they actually bring back a lot of characters from the first season, some that I didn't even expect to come back. And one in particular, I thought it was a very good move to bring them back, because it added a lot to not only Wednesday's character, but just to my perception of this character. It was good that we were able to spend more time with them. I have one middle, and it's that we are introduced to Grandmama in this season, which I was very excited about. Obviously, we got most of them, the Addams family, in the first season, and we only had Grandma and Cousin It left, and I was like, well, we're gonna get one of them in this season. And we do. We get Grandma, which was really cool. That being said, I don't love the way that she was taken. Like, it's a middle, because I think for the show that we have, she's perfect. I think that it's a really interesting way to have her, but I was really excited for the old hag version, the really weird baddie version of Grandma, to see what they would do in this. That being said, again, it does work, I think, for what the story is doing and for this specific Addams family. So, it's not like, I think it was fine. I was just disappointed we're not going to get to see, like, the crazy version. Okay, there's two big lows about this season. The first is a lot of the characters. Whereas a lot of my highs were a lot of the characters, some of my lows are them as well. Mostly for what they did to, like, already existing characters. Like, why is Eugene such a dick in this season? Like, I did not get that at all. His entire purpose in the first season was to be, like, even though he's a nerd and he doesn't, like, have a lot of friends, he's useful, he's helpful, he becomes a friend to Wednesday, she respects him, for being who he is, and that means a lot coming from Wednesday. And then in this one, he's just like a jerk. He's not even in it that much, and when he is, he's being like an asshole to Pugsley for no reason. So, I don't know, I didn't like that at all. Enid, I love Enid. Like, she has to be one of my favorite characters on that show. But they were doing her dirty in the first couple episodes. They randomly made her, not as bad as Eugene, I think, but they made her, like, really shitty to Ajax. And I know I'm sitting here, like, festering over, teen romance in this show, but I think a lot of people were thinking that she's just, like, not being a good person. And I get it, they turned it, around into, well, she was learning more about herself and she was going through stuff, and I get that, at least there was a reason with her as opposed to, like, Eugene, and she does come around and, like, they both kind of figure out what what they're doing, and she kind of realizes how she was being. And also, talking about Pugsley before, the writers did not know what to do with this man. I know that Pugsley is supposed to be a little dim, and I know that it's like, what do you really do with this guy? But I just, they could have done more. Even if it was, like, having him interact with Wednesday more. I mean, they're siblings, for God's sakes, and they're never really in the same room, ever. It just felt like they did not know what to do with his character, and they brought in this one plot line and kept him with that, even though it was insanely stupid of him to keep doing what he was doing. But I think the biggest and most obvious low of the season is that it's a little bit of a mess. There's a lot of plot lines going on here. It's kind of like Beetlejuice, I don't know what it is with Burton lately and being like, I gotta pack a bunch of stuff in. And, like, while the way that they're connected, all these plot lines, is interesting, it just doesn't quite make sense a lot of the time. Some things they're not connecting at all. They're just, like, one-off things that last the whole season and then it's just over. And I was like, all right, so what was all that about? There's specifically one with the new principal, played by Steve Buscemi, and I thought the plot line was interesting, but it just kind of didn't really go anywhere. And then this other main plot line, or should I say, I guess two, because, halfway through the season, it kind of goes to something else. It's like they started with one thing, and I was really into that one thing. I thought, okay, it's going to be like another mystery like we had in the first one, completely separate from the first one. Maybe we'll touch on things that happened in last season, but mostly it'll be its own thing. And they started to do that, and then it just felt like they were like, well, this isn't working, let's just go with something else. And they split it up, and then just like halfway through, like the 4th episode, it went from one thing to a completely different next. And literally at the end of the 4th episode, I was like, you know what? I didn't really like that. And it was funny because the first 3 episodes, even 3.5, I'm like, you know what? I love this season. I think this is really cool. I'm excited to see where this goes. And then they just kind of abandoned it and went to something else. And there was just so many different things going on, and it felt like the ways that they did try to connect, some of it felt contrived. Not all of it, but a lot of it felt contrived or convenient, or how, you know? All that being said, I do like a lot of what came out of it, specifically one of the main villains. I'm not going to say who it is, but I thought that they did a really good job. Very interesting character and actor. And I did think that the finale did a good job wrapping everything up while giving a lot more twists, you know? While it seemed like it was touch and go here and there to get there, once we got to the finale, I was like, I'm digging this, sure. So they stuck the landing, weirdly enough, for as rocky as it was for a little bit. So overall, I don't think that Wednesday Season 2 is nearly as tight as the first season, but I do think that upon a rewatch, now that I know what's coming, I can maybe try to piece together stuff a little bit more and see if it's still as broken up or as, you know, as many plot lines as I really think there's going on, or maybe it'll come together a little bit more. We still had all of the cool locations, all the cool characters, all the cool cinematography, and basically everything that worked about the first season is in here. I do like a lot of what we got, and it sounds like I'm really hating on it, but I really enjoyed watching this season, and I'm very excited for Season 3 and what they're going to do with that. I'm going to give Wednesday Season 2 a 3 out of 4. Well, guys, let me know what you thought of Wednesday Season 2. Do you have the same thoughts that I did? It seems like everyone's kind of on the same page about some of those things. Plus, we know that there's still one more member of the Addams family that we have to see. Cousin It. I'm waiting on you, man. I wonder who's going to play him. Maybe like Zendaya or something. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and Halloween right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.